Good afternoon. It is Tuesday, October 17th, 2023. I've always found it interesting when I meet another Christian who expects my experiences to be identical to his experiences, and vice versa. They sometimes get so frustrated when they find out that each individual Christian has their own individual path to discipleship. We learn at different rates, and we're motivated by different things, and God always treats each one of us as individuals. By the way, if God has given you a concern about something, and it seems like no one else is as excited about as you are, chances are what's really happening is that God is calling you to take action on that concern. That's why He placed that burden on your heart, and you need to do something about it. I want you to imagine if someone tried to write a procedure manual on how Jesus healed blind people. This passage reminds us that Jesus did not have only one way of healing blind people. He did it differently just about every time. In Mark chapter 8, verses 22 to 26, and I'm reading from the New Living Translation, second edition, it says, "When they arrived at Bethsaida, some people brought a blind man to Jesus, and they begged him to touch the man and heal him. Jesus took the blind man by the hand and led him out of the village. Then, spitting on the man's eyes, he laid his hands on him and asked, 'Can you see anything now?' The man looked around. 'Yes,' he said, 'I see people, but I can't see them very clearly. They look like trees walking around.' Then Jesus placed his hands on the man's eyes again, and his eyes were opened. His sight was completely restored, and he could see everything clearly. Jesus sent him away, saying, 'Don't go back into the village on your way home.' They brought a blind man to Jesus. They recognized that Jesus had the ability to restore sight to the blind. And so they brought him to Jesus, and they begged him, 'Touch this man and heal him,' because they recognize there is tremendous power, supernatural power, healing power in the touch of Jesus' hands. And then Jesus did something different. He took him outside the village, away from the crowd. Others he healed in very public situations, in very public circumstances, in front of God and everybody. This time he took him away to a private place. And then he spit and lay hands. He spit in the man's eyes. Gross. But there was no mud. There was no washing in the pool of Siloam. There was just Jesus and this man having a conversation. And he didn't get healed all the way at first. He asked the man, "What do you see?" He says, "I see people. I can tell they're people, but they look like trees walking around, just vague shapes." So Jesus touched him again, and then his eyes were opened. Why did it take twice? Ask Jesus that question when you get to heaven. Whatever the reason, there is a different procedure for this healing than there was for other healings. A different method for restoring of sight to the blind in this situation than there were for others. And Jesus can do it however He wants to. We pray to God for healing, and He can send it any way He wants to. He can send it miraculously and instantaneously, or He could send it through doctors and nurses and physical therapy and care, or He can send it by saying, "Wait until you're in heaven and everything's restored." Whatever way God chooses to work ought to be okay with us when we ask Him for healing. This guy was touched twice and immediately could see. And then Jesus told him something interesting. He said, "Go home without going through the village." In other words, I want you to ignore the nosy villagers and not bother with them. We're not here for a slideshow. We're not here for a freak show. We're not here for their entertainment and enjoyment. You get to see and go home and see your wife and kids and be glad. And that ought to cover you. You don't need to make a fuss. Let God lead you into your individual ministry in the way that He sees fit to do it. Just be sure that you're obedient to what He says and follow His instruction and follow His guidance. And may God bless you on your own individual journey. God bless you.